So when it's time to begin your collage, the first thing you want to do is have a sketch, because the sketch is your plan and it kind of helps you have a game plan so that you know what to draw and cut. I'm not a big fan of this sketch completely, but I am going to change it and modify it to the way that I like it. You're going to start off with your warm colors paper, and I'm doing half the size of what you're doing just so you can see it in a smaller scale. You're going to start with your flower pot. Your flower pot needs to have symmetry. Symmetry is when the left side matches the right side. The best way to have symmetry is to fold the paper and draw half of it, cut it, and then open it. Now, I did not want to fold my collage paper, so instead I just got a piece of computer paper, because that's what it's there for. It's just scratch paper, and I folded the computer paper in half. I drew out half of my flower pot, and then I cut it out while it was folded, and then when I open it up, it becomes my very own stencil. Then I placed it on top of my warm colored paper, and you'll notice that your warm color will have paper, and both papers, painted papers, are going to have a variety of colors. Put it somewhere that you would think that would be your best for the colors of your flower pot. So I did that, I cut it out, and now I'm ready to begin everything else. Now when you're collaging today, you're not going to use Elmer's glue, you're going to use Mod Podge, which most of you are familiar with. When you take the lids off of these, please do not throw these away. These are reusable. They're not, I know they're usually to-go cups for ranch, and you usually throw them away. But in the art room, we just keep using them, and I keep refilling them. So to stick anything down on your painted canvas, let's pretend like this is my painted canvas. You're going to need to put some Mod Podge on the back with it on your placemat so that you don't get anything on the table. I don't care if the tables get messy with paint, but if they get messy with Mod Podge, it is very hard to get off, and they do not clean very easily. So just use the placemat. And then after you put that on there, quickly place your flower pot near the bottom. Do not let your flower pot, though, touch the bottom of the paper, because you might want to put a shadow below that, like I did in my example, and I'll show you that right now. So in my example, and that's, if you do want a shadow, you probably would do that first. You can see that I created a shadow at the bottom with newspaper, and it kind of gives it that gray shadow look. It's just an oval. You would glue that first, and then your flower pot on top. You can also accessorize your flower pot with magazines, more newspaper. I even have scrapbooking paper if you like to use that as well. And so I did cut out a magazine. You'll never believe, I wanted this to be dirt. You'll never believe what I found just looking for a page in Ranger Rick. Here we go, a bunch of pigs, and they were brown. So that's where I cut out my piece, and that makes a great block of color to start my flower vase if you want to do it that way. I did not do a three-dimensional flower pot on this example right here. I just made the edge, the lip of the flower pot. And then from there, you're going to start adding in your cacti. So when you add your cactus shapes, you have to measure with your pencil and your paper, not with a ruler. So let's talk about what that means. So I like to draw on the back of my sheet of paper because you can't obviously see your lines on this, but I'm going to hold my sheet where I want to start it. So I want my cacti to start right here, and then I'm going to measure how tall I want it. So I kind of just see this, how tall I want it. I want it to be right up to here near the top of my paper, and I'm going to use that to cut out. Now I'm not going to draw the whole cactus and then cut the whole thing out. You need to piece it together, because that is how you're going to get the variety of shading and value, and that's really going to help make your cactus look a lot more realistic with all of these different shapes overlapping. You're going to glue things under and over, even my flowers and things. So do not try to cut it all out in one piece. You're just going to cut it out in unique shapes. So I'm going with this shape that I have. I want it to be this tall. So I'm going to do one shape at a time. So this is going to be a piece that goes like this, and he's going to have arms coming out. So you just cut it out. Now when you cut, please show me some good cutting skills. This is This is what collage is all about. It's the art of cutting. And you are not painting your lines, you're not drawing your lines, you're cutting your lines. So your cutting is really going to count on your edges, that they're smooth, unless you want an edge that's more like jagged, like a cactus. But I'm going to put my arms there, and then I'm not going to glue the whole thing. I'm going to start drawing it out first because I want to make sure I have it the way I want it before I start gluing it down. So I'm going to make an arm. So I just place the collage paper where I want it, and I kind of decide where I want it. I kind of pretend like I have x-ray vision and I can see through the paper, because that way I can decide like where it's going to go. And I'm going to put an arm. Actually, this one's going to go a little higher right here. And then I'm going to add my piece. I want it to be bigger out here and smaller here. And so when you cut, just be very careful. And if you mess up cutting, you can't fix it. The only way to problem solve if you mess up your cutting is to cut out another piece and to do a better job. And that is okay if you have to do that, because that's part of being an artist, is trial and error, fixing things. Okay, oh, I did it backwards, so it's gonna have to go this way. I didn't even think about that. So if you have the paper upside down and you draw something, then it's going to flip and be that side, which is fine. So now I need to do this side over here. I'm gonna flip it this way this time, y'all. Okay, and then I'm gonna just draw up my other arm of my cactus, and I've got more. So after I'm all finished, you need to look at your picture and decide, have you filled the space? So if you look at what I talked about yesterday, this was a work in progress that just kept growing. I started off with just a few little shapes for my prickly pear cactus, and then I kept adding and adding. I felt like I had a bunch of empty spaces. I started adding these little prickles and adding little details. I added more of these because it had empty space. So if you have empty space, fill it. That's what makes your art look more unified. And so also you need to think about, if you have flowers, you can use your warm colored paper. Whatever's left from that, you'll have lots left. You might have pink areas to make a pink flower. You might have orange, red, or any of the cool colors. You can separate them, overlap them, whatever you decide. So now you know what you need to do from start to finish to complete your cactus collage.